The prominent Republican critic of Donald Trump, George Conway, is releasing 2 ads featuring 2 of the women who have accused Trump of sexual assault. Now, George Conway knows Trump really well. His ex-wife, Kellyanne Conway, is a longtime advisor of Trump's. And so George Conway is targeting these ads with surgical precision. He knows they're not just airing on local television stations that Trump gets in his home, so when he turns on the TV, he sees them. They're also airing on national stations and shows Trump watches: Fox News, CNN, ESPN, and the Golf Channel. And one of the ads is focused exclusively on journalist Natasha Stoynoff, who testified under oath that she was assaulted by Trump while interviewing him and Melania back in 2005. This is part of her story.
My name is Natasha Stoynoff. In 2005, I went to interview Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. At one point, Melania went upstairs to change her clothes for the next photo shoot. And Trump said to me, "I want to show you this beautiful painting, this beautiful room." He leads me to this room, pushes me against the wall, and starts kissing me forcefully. I tried to push him. He kept coming back at me. I was in shock and smothered, and he had his hands here against my shoulders. I felt sick inside. I felt horrified.
Trump, of course, has repeatedly denied the allegations, but Stoynoff is someone on Trump's mind. In fact, it was just 2 weeks ago that he brought her up during a press conference.
And this one is a writer for People magazine, who I actually thought was very nice. She came to Mar-a-Lago, and she wrote the most beautiful story you've ever seen. It was a love story about Melania and myself.
A love story. I mean, of course, Stoynoff said after Trump sexually assaulted her when Melania, who was 7 months pregnant, was changing. When Melania came back downstairs, she said, "I was nauseated. It didn't seem to register him in the slightest that what he'd done might have hurt or offended me or his wife." Now, Stoynoff is going to be out front in just a moment. And here's what's really interesting. Even though you just heard Trump lauding Stoynoff's article in People magazine, right? Still talking about it. Moments later, this is how he talked about her.
Her name was whoever. Let's see. Her name was who? Swornoff, yeah. I don't have it. Whatever her name was.
Whatever her name was, even though we talked about the wonderful love story that, article that she wrote, it is clear that these new ads, paid for by George Conway, are designed to get under Trump's skin. It is clear that is the purpose, but they are also designed to remind women of things like this.
When you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the
Now, right now, CNN's latest poll shows Trump trailing Harris by 10 points when it comes to women. That actually puts him exactly in line with how he performed in 2020 when he lost the election. So Trump knows women matter, which is why he's appealing to them now, even though his latest appeal to women is odd.
You will no longer be abandoned, lonely, or scared. You will no longer be in danger. You're not going to be in danger any longer. You will no longer have anxiety from all of the problems our country has today. You will be protected, and I will be your protector.
Natasha Stoynoff is out front now for her first interview since this ad was released. Natasha, thanks so much for choosing to speak out. And because I say this in the context of when you first shared your story, when you hoped that it might make a difference in 2016, you received death threats, you were under incredible threat. And yet you believe now it's worth the risk again to be heard, to make sure people hear what you have to say. Why do you feel it's worth that?
It is a risk to come forward. I feel that way, and all the other women felt that way as well. But the risk that the country faces if he wins again is far greater to me. And I do think coming forward again right now could make a difference. I actually was in Montana a few weeks ago, and in a 10-minute Uber ride, I changed someone's vote, a diehard Trump supporter.
By telling your story?
Yep.
So one vote at a time. And that is what matters. We all know. And look at these states last time and how razor thin these margins are. These ads, though, obviously, I know you're hoping unaffiliated voters will see them, that they will make a difference. They are, of course, also going to be in Trump's homes. They're going to be on television in Mar-a-Lago, television in Bedminster. They're going to be on all the networks that he watches faithfully or sporadically, including this one, including Morning Joe, right, that he will tune into. So you've covered Trump for many years, right? The context of this is you had covered him as a reporter for People magazine. So you do know him. How do you expect he's going to respond?
The same way he always responds. He'll call us liars. He'll write some sort of outrageous tweet. Now, he may be extra careful so as not to defame us. I mean, he owes quite a few $1 million to somebody, E. Jean Carroll, for defamation. I don't know if he'll be careful this time, but I don't think he can control himself in that way. And the thing is that we have truth on our side. I know I have truth on my side. So it doesn't really bother me how he's going to respond.
So as I was doing the introduction and I was playing part of what Trump is saying to women now as he is trying to move that margin just a little bit, your ad comes as he is saying this. I just wanted to play part of it. You know, he talked about how women would not have anxiety and fear if he wins. He also said this.
You will no longer be in danger. You're not going to be in danger any longer. You will be protected, and I will be your protector.
So what goes through your mind when you hear that?
When I first saw that clip, I laughed. And then I sent it to the other women. I'm friends with several women who have been groped by him. And I feel like we had like a universal vomit onto our phones. The fact that he's saying that, he is not a protector of women. He is a predator of women. So in the incident that happened, Melania is 7 months pregnant, as you've talked about. She goes upstairs to change for the next part of the photo shoot. You're alone with Trump. He says, go look at this art. Then he assaults you. She actually did respond to that allegation at one point. And let me just play what she said.
Even the story that came out in People magazine, the writer, that she said that my husband took her to the room and started kissing her. She wrote in the same story about me that she saw me on Fifth Avenue and I said to her, Natasha, how can we don't see you anymore? I was never friend with her. I would not recognize her.
It's interesting there. She knew the detail of what you said happened. She knew your name. She knew all of those things. Do you think, though, that she, at this point, truly believes her husband?
And by the way, I had a friend with me that day when we bumped into Melania Trump. So I have confirmation. Do I think she believes the women?
Yeah.
I can't imagine that she would marry somebody and not know what they're about. So I'm assuming she does. And I'm assuming that she just tries to live with it. But I'm not sure. We'll see what happens in her memoir, what she writes.
Well, we'll see what's in there about that. In an op-ed after Trump won in 2016, you wrote, "It took months before the cruel truth dawned on me. Trump supporters knew we were telling the truth. They just didn't care." You know, one thing I find interesting, and we were pointing out recently on the show, Natasha, was that, 39% of women voted for Trump the first time. It went up the second time. Everybody, this was all known in all of those cases. He's doing the same now in polling as he was last time. We'll see what happens. So do you think anything has changed?
Well, I have hope that we have millions of new voters, young people who did not know of our stories before in 2016.
8 years is a long time for a young voter.
Right.
Yeah.
And so my hope is to talk to them. And my hope is also that since he has been civilly found liable for sexual assault by a jury, that people will open their minds up a bit and say, these women are telling the truth.
All right. Well, Natasha, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And thank you for speaking out. I know, to kind of open open all that again is not a small thing. So thank you.
Thanks so much.
And let's go now to our panel. Jane, let me start with you where Natasha just finished. When she said it's not as if she's trying to relitigate with people who've already made up their minds, although I'm sure she would be happy if that's the case. But she's talking to the many people who are voting this time around, who maybe were too young to really understand this or process all this 8 years ago, that this might be new information for them and matter to them. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I really want to thank Natasha for telling her story. I think the challenge is twofold. One, the effort should be to get people to not just not vote for Donald Trump, but to vote for Kamala Harris. We're in a system in which we have two options, essentially. And so my concern is that this is an effort that is going to turn people off Trump, but then doesn't seem to then make the logical transition towards you should vote for Kamala Harris. And I think the second point here is that my real concern is that so much of people's views of Donald Trump are baked in. And I don't mean that as being a good thing. I don't think it's good that you can tell your story about what happened to you as a result of his actions, and people are going to respond with, we kind of knew that. Like, that's horrifying to me. But my concern here is that the view of Donald Trump is so baked in that it even influences how we cover him, that he can say things that are objectively insane. And it just is kind of like, well, that's just Trump being Trump, which is to me ridiculous.